right, folks, thanks for joining us. David Icke has been kind enough to join us here in the first hour. Silver Shield blogger Chris Duane from sonsoflibertyacademy.com will be joining us in the second hour of the show. Some of what we're going to talk about is the economics of all of this, how this might affect you and be used to enslave you further. Thank you, David, for joining us on the show today. I just heard you're going to be out in California where they're expecting earthquakes and fallout here this week, next week.
Yeah. I'm heading there in about 2 days, yeah. And people have said to me, oh, you don't want to go? Like, watch me. This is not a time to run away. This is a time to keep calm and run at it. Because we don't want any panicking and any one kind of no shrinking violence. This is not the time for that. We have to do what we need to do. Information needs to get circulated. I'm going to Los Angeles to circulate it. And that's the end of it. And if we start running away, then basically we are giving our power away at a time when we have to bloody seriously take it back. Actually, you just mentioned there about the economic situation. I went to fill my car up the other day, and it's not a flash car, it's not a big car, it's like a kind of middle-range family saloon. I don't know what you would work out in dollars, but it cost me £86 to fill it up. I guess that's closing in on $120-$130, something like that. I don't know, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that massive increase was justified by the crisis in Libya, which produces 2% of the world oil supplies. Once this starts to impact upon Saudi Arabia and what have you, I think they're 11.6% of world supplies, you're going to see the oil price absolutely go sky high. Now, what does that do when we have an economy based on oil to and fuel to transport everything, to actually make so many things? You're going to see prices going through the roof all over the place when you have oil prices of the level that it would go to if Saudi Arabia started getting undermined or in terms of the ruling regime. And that's coming at some point, because that's part of the
agenda. And we saw George Soros say that if we get $200 a barrel oil, that this is going to cause more destabilization and uprisings, and he looked like he was almost drooling while he said it.
Yeah, because when you look at the agenda, which we've been talking about and I've been writing about now all these years, if we just take a breath, take a step back and look at what's unfolding, it is absolutely in line with that. It's about creating so much chaos and to make increasingly governments irrelevant to any response to that chaos. And of course, economically, we've reached the point now where governments are in so much debt because of bailing out the manipulated, long-planned crash of the banks in 2008 that they have no margin for maneuver now in reacting. So what they want is all in their documents, going way back, is to create absolute chaos in the world, not least economically, so that those that control the banking system, in other words, the Rothschilds and that cartel, they then come forward and say, look, we can sort it out, but to sort it out, this has to happen. And what will they say? World government, world army. We can stop this oppression. We can stop this war if we had one world army, and we would make sure that
solution, David.
Problems, reaction, solution. A world central bank and all the rest of it that they'll put forward as the solution to and indeed we talked about that letter from Albert Pike. Part of that letter talks about the fact that at the time of manipulating this Third World War, they'll create absolute mayhem, upheaval and chaos in the world, because then they can come forward and say this is the only way out of it. And when people are in fear, when people are terrorized by whatever means, am I going to pay the rent? What about my kids? What about the war? Who's going to invade next? What they tend to do is why I'm saying we must keep calm and we must keep ourselves together. We must hold on to our power, because once people are in that state of fear and terror, they give their power away to people they think can protect them from what they've been manipulated.
The very people who have been attacking them all these decades and centuries and millennia, David, it doesn't even make any logical sense, but none of this is actually logical. And if we look at what's going on in North Africa, which, of course, we all predicted last year, I knew this humanitarian invasion was coming because they wouldn't have been wanting it. It was an election year last year. They couldn't get away with it. Here we go. Here's the perfect problem. Here's the perfect antithesis in order to get them in for their solution, for their thesis. But ultimately here, we've got Oceania at war with Eurasia. I guess Orwell was right on all of this, and that's what NATO and the international community is doing, and that's why Russia and China have abstained from voting and have no involvement in this, because it is largely an global economic warfare. Africa must be obtained and retained by the usual suspects, and China and Russia and others may not get their hands on it.
Yeah, but, I've been to Africa many, many times in recent years, and, there's a tremendous Chinese involvement in Africa now. Absolutely massive, yep. where they're taking over resources and they're effectively taking over countries. And again, the African continent going across to the Middle East with Israel and all the rest of it, Saudi Arabia, have tremendous potential on purpose, of course, to bring these what you might call superpowers, or the major players economically and militarily in the world, together in conflict. That's what they want. It's been long planned and it's been written in their documents. So what we're seeing is what we've been talking about all these years was coming. What we need to do is throw a spanner in the works, and it's going to be a really big challenge. I've been saying at every opportunity now for like 2 months, people have got to get informed. Whether you're protesting in America about the government, you're protesting in Egypt about Mubarak, whether you're protesting in Saudi Arabia or Bahrain, you've got to get informed of how the game is played, what the techniques are, and what the goals are at the end of all this. Because if you don't have those criteria in front of you, those understandings, then you're going to get played like a violin, because your genuine rage at your oppression, suppression, and injustice and lack of freedom is actually going to be used to bring about an end that the people responsible ultimately for that injustice want to bring about.
Another point of absolute fear paralyzation is what's going on in Japan, what the truth might be, what information is getting out, is not getting out. It looks very much like the BP accident here in the Gulf, David, where ground zero is locked down, real information is not coming, speculation is very wild, fear is rampant. We've got about 3 minutes in this segment and 10 more minutes in the next. Let's get started talking about your take on Japan.
Well, the thing about any situation, whether it's in the Gulf or whether it's in Japan, the authorities are not going to tell you the truth if the truth is not good for the authorities. So there's going to be a tremendous amount of truth about what's happening with these nuclear stations that we're not being told about. But, just very quickly, we can go on further after the break, but, it's like deja vu for me at the moment, because 21 years ago, when I first started this journey, and I came across psychics at that time who were telling me I was going to go on this journey and all the things that I'm done and I'm doing, there were some common themes at that point which have spanned all these years. And one of them was that there was going to be a massive vibrational change which was going to wake people up from their coma, their slumber, their amnesia, and they're going to see the world and themselves in a different way. That isn't happening. It was going to bring to the surface all that had been hidden from us. That's happening more and more with every passing month. But the third element of this vibrational change was it was going to bring about tremendous geological upheavals. And what I'm seeing now absolutely syncs with that. That is not to say that some of them are not created by technology like HAARP. I mean, if Haiti, the earthquake there, wasn't technologically created, when all those troops were waiting in America to come across and take the country over the moment it happened, then, I'm a pig with wings and a holding pattern. But they're not all HAARP. And I think that when you've got people, as did, who have studied solar cycles and the activity of the sun and the influence of the moon, who predicted these things in New Zealand and Japan, there are other things we need to look at with regard to this as well.
We've got one more segment coming up with David Icke, davidicke.com for all things David Icke. We'll be in California here in a couple of days, and I highly recommend you get out and catch his, David's 6-8 hour...
it's 8 to 9 hours, yeah.
It's funny, it's entertaining, and if you haven't seen David live, you're really missing out. It's worth all the effort you might take to go there. We'll be right back, folks, in a couple of minutes. Stay with us, Deadline Live.